"Let me touch you there," the lowly cowboy asked. The giant Apache woman smiled back. The air was crisp, and the gentle wind whispered through the tall grass, carrying with it the scent of wild flowers and earth. In the distance, the sound of hooves echoed faintly, and a lone cowboy made his way across the open land. His hat was worn and dusty, his boots marked by miles of travel, and his eyes held a quiet determination. He was not a man of great wealth or status. He was lowly in the eyes of many, a wanderer seeking work, adventure, and perhaps a sense of purpose in a world that often felt too vast to understand. The cowboy, whose name was Eli, had been traveling for several weeks. His journey had taken him from small towns with creaking wooden buildings to the open plains where the horizon seemed endless. He had heard stories of the lands further west, where the Apache people lived, and where life was filled with both beauty and danger. He had no clear destination in mind, only a desire to see what lay beyond the familiar paths and to experience the world in its raw, untamed form. As he rode, Eli noticed something unusual. On a distant hill, a figure moved with a grace and strength that was remarkable. She was tall, far taller than anyone he had ever seen, and her presence seemed to command the very landscape around her. She carried herself with quiet confidence, her eyes scanning the plains as if she understood its every secret. Eli slowed his horse, squinting against the morning sun, trying to make out more details. She was a woman of the Apache people, known for their courage and connection to the land. The stories he had heard spoke of their skill, their resilience, and their deep understanding of the natural world. Curiosity tugged at him. Eli had always been drawn to the unknown, to people and places that challenged his understanding of life. He urged his horse forward, keeping a respectful distance, unsure of how she would react to a stranger approaching. The plains were quiet, save for the soft rustle of grass and the occasional call of a distant bird. There was a sense of anticipation in the air, as if the land itself was holding its breath. The woman noticed him almost immediately. She did not appear surprised or fearful. Instead, there was a gentle smile on her face, one that spoke of understanding rather than judgment. Her eyes were sharp and intelligent, reflecting the wisdom of someone who had grown up closely connected to the world around her. Eli felt a mix of awe and nervousness. He had encountered many people in his travels, but few had the presence that she carried effortlessly. Eli dismounted carefully, patting his horse gently to calm it. He kept his voice low, respectful, and friendly as he greeted her. "Good morning," he said, trying to sound confident despite the fluttering in his chest. "I hope I'm not intruding." "I'm just passing through these lands." The woman nodded, her smile widening slightly. "You are welcome here," she said, her voice calm and melodic. "The plains are open to those who respect them. Tell me, traveler, what brings you to this part of the land?" Eli hesitated for a moment, considering how much to reveal. "I'm looking for work, adventure, and perhaps a better understanding of this world," he said finally. "I've heard much about the Apache people and the lands you call home. I wish to learn if you would allow me." There was a pause as the woman regarded him. Then she spoke, her tone carrying a mixture of curiosity and wisdom. "Learning comes not just from words, but from observing, listening, and respecting the life around you. The plains teach patience, and the people teach courage." "Are you ready for that, traveler?" Eli nodded earnestly. "I want to be ready," he said. "I want to understand." The woman's smile became a little more knowing. "Then perhaps your journey is beginning at the right place," she said. "Walk with me. There is much to see, and the day is young." As they moved across the plains together, Eli felt a sense of connection forming, not just with the woman but with the land itself. He noticed how she moved lightly over the grass, how her eyes seemed to see the hidden patterns of the world, and how her presence brought a sense of calm to the vast openness around them. He realized that this encounter was unlike any other he had experienced. It was not just a meeting of two people, but a meeting of two worlds. The world of a wandering cowboy and the world of a proud, powerful Apache woman. They shared stories of their lives as they walked. Eli spoke of the towns he had passed through, the small jobs he had done, the people he had met, and the lessons he had learned along the way. The woman spoke of her people, their customs, the skills they relied on to survive and thrive, and the wisdom passed down through generations. Eli listened intently, fascinated by the depth of knowledge she carried and the strength of character that shone through her every action. By midday, they reached a small clearing with a clear spring. Birds chirped overhead, and the water reflected the bright sky like a mirror. The woman gestured for Eli to rest, and he gratefully accepted, letting his horse graze nearby. She filled a small bowl with water from the spring and offered it to him. "Drink," she said. "It is always important to honor the gifts of the land." Eli drank slowly, feeling the cool water refresh him and give him a sense of grounding. He realized that this encounter was teaching him something deeper than just survival skills or stories. It was teaching him about respect, patience, and the importance of understanding people and places before seeking to change or control them. As the afternoon sun climbed higher, they continued walking, exploring the nearby hills and valleys. Eli noticed how the woman seemed attuned to every detail, the movement of animals, the patterns of clouds, the rustle of grass, and he tried to match her awareness. He stumbled at times, but she offered guidance without judgment, simply pointing out what he might have missed. By the time the sun began to dip toward the horizon, painting the sky with shades of gold and red, Eli realized that he had experienced a full day of learning, observation, and wonder. He felt a sense of humility and gratitude, knowing that he had met someone who could teach him not just about survival, but about living with awareness and respect. As they settled near a campfire for the evening, Eli felt a quiet excitement for what the coming days might bring. He knew that this was only the beginning of a journey that would test his patience, challenge his assumptions, and perhaps change the way he saw the world entirely. He also knew that this encounter with the Apache woman would leave a lasting impression on him, shaping the way he approached people, nature, and life itself. The stars began to twinkle overhead, and the plains grew calm under the gentle night sky. The fire crackled softly, and the air was filled with the distant calls of nocturnal animals. Eli felt a sense of peace he had rarely known, a feeling that he was exactly where he needed to be, learning lessons that could not be taught in any other way. And so, the lowly cowboy and the giant Apache woman sat together under the vast sky, two travelers from different worlds beginning a journey that would weave their paths together in unexpected and meaningful ways. The story of their encounter had only just begun, but the first chapter was already filled with wonder, respect, and the quiet promise of adventure. The next morning, the plains awoke with a gentle hum of life. Birds flitted from branch to branch, and a soft breeze carried the earthy scent of dew-drenched grass. Eli awoke to the warmth of the early sun on his face and the quiet sound of water trickling nearby. He stretched, feeling the stiffness of yesterday's long walk, but also a renewed sense of curiosity and determination. Today, he would continue his journey alongside the Apache woman, whose name he had learned was Nayeli, meaning she who brings happiness. Nayeli was already awake, moving gracefully along the edge of the small camp. She collected fresh water from the spring and began tending to the small fire from the night before. She looked at Eli with a calm smile. "Good morning," she said. "The plains are full of lessons today if we know where to look." Eli returned the greeting, careful not to startle her. "Good morning. I am ready to learn," he replied, his voice tinged with excitement. He knew that each day with Nayeli would be filled with discoveries, and he wanted to absorb as much as he could. They set out together, walking toward a dense grove of trees that marked the edge of the open plains. As they moved, Naeli pointed out various plants and their uses. She showed him which berries were safe to eat, which roots could be boiled for nourishment, and which herbs were valuable for treating minor injuries. Eli listened intently, taking mental notes and occasionally jotting things down in a small notebook he always carried. He had never realized how much knowledge the land itself could hold, how every tree, plant, and stream had a story to tell. Their conversation flowed naturally. Eli shared stories from his past, tales of his family, and small adventures he had undertaken in the towns and settlements he had visited. Naeli, in return, spoke of her people's traditions, the importance of respecting nature, and the history of the land that had been home to her ancestors for generations. Eli was struck by her wisdom, and he found himself reflecting on the simplicity yet depth of her teachings. As midday approached, dark clouds began to gather over the horizon. The wind picked up, carrying a hint of rain. Naeli paused and looked at the sky, her eyes sharp and knowing. "A storm is coming," she said. "We must find shelter before it reaches us." Eli scanned the area and noticed a small rocky outcrop not far away. Together, they moved quickly but carefully, Eli guiding his horse and Naeli leading the way. The wind grew stronger, and the first drops of rain began to fall, cool and steady. By the time they reached the rocks, the rain had turned into a steady drizzle, soaking the grass and turning the earth soft and muddy. Under the protection of the rocky ledge, Naeli showed Eli how to create a simple shelter using branches and leaves. She worked efficiently, demonstrating techniques her people had used for generations. Eli tried to imitate her, struggling at first but gradually learning to arrange the branches so they would provide enough cover from the rain. By the time the shelter was complete, they were both wet and tired, but there was a quiet sense of accomplishment in the air. Sitting under the makeshift roof, Eli took a moment to observe Naeli. She seemed calm and composed, almost at one with the storm raging around them. "How can you be so calm?" he asked. "A storm like this would make me anxious." Naeli smiled gently. "The storm is part of life," she said. "It cannot be changed or controlled. We can only observe it, respect it, and find our way through it. In life, storms come and go, but how we face them defines us." Eli reflected on her words, realizing that the lessons she was teaching extended beyond survival skills. She was teaching him how to navigate life itself, with patience, respect, and courage. As the rain continued, they shared a simple meal. Naeli had brought dried meat and corn, which she combined with fresh water to create a small stew. Eli was impressed by her resourcefulness, noticing how she could turn even the simplest ingredients into nourishing food. They ate in silence for a while, listening to the rhythm of the rain and the occasional distant clap of thunder. When the storm finally began to subside, the sun broke through the clouds, casting golden rays over the wet plains. The land smelled fresh and vibrant, and a rainbow appeared in the sky, stretching across the horizon like a bridge of color. Eli couldn't help but smile. "It's beautiful," he said. Naeli nodded. "Nature has its ways of reminding us of balance. Storms pass and beauty returns. We must learn to appreciate both." They continued their journey, moving through the plains with a growing sense of companionship. Eli noticed that Naeli had a remarkable ability to find paths that were safe yet challenging, guiding him through areas where the grass grew tall and the terrain was uneven. She taught him how to observe subtle signs of animals, how to track movements, and how to understand the language of the land. Every step became a lesson, and Eli felt himself growing stronger, both physically and mentally. By evening, they reached a small stream surrounded by tall trees. The area was teeming with life. Birds chirped in the branches, rabbits darted through the undergrowth, and deer grazed in the distance. Naeli showed Eli how to find clean water, how to recognize the tracks of animals, and how to move quietly to avoid disturbing the natural balance. Eli listened, practiced, and gradually improved, feeling a sense of pride in his progress. As they prepared camp for the night, Eli realized how much he had already learned from Naeli. She had not only taught him practical skills, but had also shown him the importance of respect, patience, and observation. He felt a deep sense of gratitude, knowing that their paths had crossed at the right time. Around the campfire that night, they shared stories again. Naeli told tales of legendary figures in her people's history, brave warriors, wise elders, and heroes who had shaped the land and its traditions. Eli spoke of his dreams, his hopes, and the life he wished to build for himself. Their conversation was filled with laughter, reflection, and mutual respect. It was a rare connection, one that transcended differences and focused on shared understanding. As the fire crackled and the stars appeared in the night sky, Eli felt a growing sense of wonder. He realized that this journey was changing him in ways he could not yet fully understand. He was learning not just how to survive in the wild, but how to live with awareness, humility, and courage. Naeli had become more than a guide. She was a teacher, a companion, and a window into a world he had only begun to appreciate. The night grew deeper, and the sounds of the forest surrounded them. Eli felt a sense of calm he had rarely experienced, knowing that he was not alone, and that he was learning lessons that would last a lifetime. He looked at Naeli, her face illuminated by the firelight, and felt a quiet gratitude for the wisdom she shared and the friendship that was blossoming between them. By the time Eli drifted to sleep, he felt a sense of anticipation for the days ahead. He knew that the journey would not always be easy, but with Naeli's guidance, he felt ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. The plains were vast, the lessons many, and the adventure had only just begun. And so, under the wide, star-filled sky, the lowly cowboy and the giant Apache woman rested, preparing for another day of discovery, growth, and the quiet unfolding of a remarkable journey together. The following morning, Eli awoke to the sound of birds singing and the gentle murmur of the stream nearby. The sky was painted in shades of soft gold, and the air carried a crisp freshness that reminded him of how wide and open the plains truly were. He stretched, feeling his muscles still sore from the long walks and climbs of the previous days, but he also felt more alive than ever. The lessons he had learned with Naeli were slowly shaping him into someone more aware, patient, and observant. Naeli was already awake, moving with her usual quiet grace. She was inspecting the surrounding area, making sure their campsite was safe and untouched. Eli watched her for a moment, admiring her skill. She could see details he often missed: the broken branch that indicated a passing deer, the subtle movement of a small animal hiding in the brush, even the shifting clouds in the sky that could signal a change in weather. She seemed to understand the land in a way that went far beyond simple observation. She felt it. "Good morning," Eli said, his voice still carrying a sleepy tone but bright with anticipation. "Good morning," Naeli replied. "Today, the land will teach you something new." "Are you ready?" Eli nodded eagerly. "I am ready," he said, though a part of him wondered what this new lesson might be. They packed up their small camp and set off toward a series of hills in the distance. Naeli led the way, her long strides carrying her efficiently across uneven terrain. Eli followed, trying to match her pace while keeping his eyes open for signs of animals or useful plants. He had learned to notice details that had previously escaped him: the faint footprints in the soft soil, the bent branches that marked a path, and the sounds that indicated the presence of creatures nearby. As they climbed one of the steeper hills, a sudden change in the wind caught Eli's attention. The air grew cooler, and the clouds darkened more quickly than he expected. Naeli paused, her expression thoughtful. "We need to be careful," she said. "The weather can change fast here. There are hidden dangers in the hills, especially when the ground is wet and slippery." Eli looked around, noticing that the trail they had been following was becoming narrow and rocky. The incline was steep, and the soil was damp from the recent rain. One wrong step could lead to a dangerous fall. He felt a mixture of excitement and apprehension. This was the first time he truly felt the raw unpredictability of the wilderness, the thrill of challenge mixed with a genuine sense of caution. As they continued, Nayeli began pointing out natural signs that Eli had overlooked in the past. She showed him how to test the stability of the ground before stepping, how to choose rocks to hold on to without disturbing loose soil, and how to anticipate where water might have eroded the path. Eli absorbed everything, following her instructions carefully. Each step became a test of patience and concentration, and he felt his confidence growing with every successful maneuver. Suddenly, a sharp crack echoed through the hills. Eli froze, looking around in alarm. Nayeli moved calmly, placing a hand on his arm. "Stay quiet," she whispered. "It is a falling branch. The wind is stronger here and some trees are weak from the rain. Keep moving carefully." They continued with heightened awareness, their eyes scanning the environment for any further hazards. Eli realized that this journey was teaching him far more than survival skills. It was teaching him focus, discipline, and the importance of moving deliberately rather than rushing blindly. He also felt a deepening trust in Nayeli, who guided him with patience, knowledge, and unwavering calmness. By midday, they reached a plateau that offered a breathtaking view of the plains below. The rolling hills stretched out endlessly, dotted with streams, trees, and distant wildlife. Eli could hardly believe how vast and beautiful the land was. Nayeli smiled at his awe. "The plains teach respect," she said. "When you see their beauty, remember also their power. They give and they take. We must always be mindful of both." As they prepared to rest, a distant sound caught Eli's attention, a low, mournful call of an animal he did not recognize. Nayeli noticed his alertness and explained, "That is the call of a coyote. They are intelligent and cautious, much like the people who travel these lands. Listen carefully, and you will learn much from their behavior." Eli observed as Nayeli interpreted the sounds and movements of the wildlife around them. He marveled at how she could read subtle signs, a rustle in the grass, a sudden silence, the direction of a shadow, and understand what was happening even without seeing the animals directly. He realized that her connection to the land was not just skill, but a deep understanding that came from years of experience, respect, and attention. Their peaceful moment was interrupted by a sudden challenge. As they began descending toward a nearby stream, Eli misjudged a step on the muddy slope and slipped. He fell forward, catching himself just before sliding down the hill entirely. Heart racing, he looked up to see Nayeli already at his side, offering her hand. "Are you all right?" she asked calmly. "Yes," Eli replied, though his hands were scraped and his pride stung more than anything else. "I must be more careful." "You are learning," Nayeli said gently. "Mistakes are part of the journey. What matters is that you recognize them, learn, and continue." With her guidance, Eli carefully navigated the remainder of the descent. He began to understand that every challenge, every misstep, was an opportunity to grow. By the time they reached the stream, he felt a sense of accomplishment. He had faced the difficulties of the hill, learned to trust Nayeli's guidance, and discovered more about his own resilience. They paused at the stream to rest and refresh. Nayeli demonstrated how to filter water using simple techniques, and Eli practiced carefully. She also showed him how to recognize signs of safe drinking water and how to identify areas where animals frequently visited. Every small lesson added to Eli's growing confidence and sense of connection with the land. As the day continued, they explored the surrounding area. Nayeli taught Eli how to move quietly to observe wildlife without disturbing it, how to follow animal tracks, and how to anticipate natural changes in the terrain. Eli was amazed at how much he could learn by simply paying attention and being patient. He also realized that Nayeli's teachings went beyond survival. She was showing him how to live attentively, thoughtfully, and with respect for the world around him. By evening, they set up camp on a flat area near the stream. The sky glowed with warm shades of orange and pink as the sun began to set. Eli felt a deep sense of satisfaction and wonder. The day had tested him, pushed him beyond his comfort zone, and taught him lessons he would not soon forget. He knew that each challenge they faced together was preparing him for the greater adventures that lay ahead. Around the campfire, they shared a quiet meal. Nayeli spoke of the importance of observing the seasons, the animals, and the land, explaining how her people had learned to live in harmony with the plains over generations. Eli listened, inspired by her wisdom and patience. He realized that the journey was about more than reaching a destination. It was about understanding the land, understanding others, and understanding oneself. As night fell, the stars emerged like tiny lanterns scattered across the sky. Eli lay back, gazing at the constellations and feeling a sense of awe at the vastness of the universe. He thought about the day's challenges, the lessons he had learned, and the trust he had developed with Nayeli. He felt a growing appreciation for the journey they were on together, for the guidance she provided, and for the quiet strength he had discovered within himself. Nayeli sat quietly nearby, her eyes reflecting the firelight. She had a serene expression, as if she, too, felt the significance of the day. Eli realized that their partnership was becoming something deeper than mere companionship. It was a shared journey of discovery, learning, and mutual respect. Each day, each challenge, and each lesson strengthened the bond between them, weaving a connection built on trust, patience, and understanding. As Eli drifted to sleep, he felt ready for whatever tomorrow might bring. He knew the plains would continue to challenge him, teach him, and inspire him, and he felt a quiet gratitude for the guidance and friendship of Nayeli. The journey was far from over, but with each step, he was growing stronger, wiser, and more aware of the world around him. And so, under the wide, starry sky, the lowly cowboy and the giant Apache woman rested once more, their hearts and minds prepared for the next chapter of adventure, growth, and the unfolding story of an extraordinary journey together. The next morning, the plains were covered in a thin mist. The sun's rays cut through the fog, creating a soft, golden haze that made the land appear almost magical. Eli awoke feeling a mixture of anticipation and nervousness. Nayeli had mentioned the day would bring a challenge that would test his patience, courage, and understanding of the land. He didn't know exactly what awaited him, but he trusted her guidance completely. Nayeli was already awake, moving with her usual quiet efficiency. She gathered their belongings and checked the surroundings carefully. Eli watched her for a moment, admiring the way she moved with confidence and purpose. "Are we ready?" he asked, adjusting his hat against the early light. "Yes," Nayeli replied, her voice calm but serious. "Today, you will face a part of the land that demands respect. You will need to think carefully, act with patience, and trust in what you have learned." With that, they began their journey toward a nearby canyon. The path was rugged, filled with uneven rocks, steep inclines, and narrow ledges. Eli followed closely, trying to remember every lesson Nayeli had taught him about observing the land, testing the ground, and moving carefully. He felt a mixture of excitement and apprehension. This was the first time he would truly face a challenge that could push him to his limits. As they approached the edge of the canyon, Nayeli stopped and gestured toward the steep drop below. "This is where your skills and patience will be tested," she said. "We must descend carefully. One wrong step and it could be dangerous, but if we move wisely, we will reach the bottom safely." Eli nodded, his heart racing. He had faced difficult terrain before, but nothing like this. The canyon's walls were high and jagged, and the path was narrow, with loose stones that could easily give way. Nayeli demonstrated the technique first, carefully placing her feet and using her hands to steady herself. Eli watched her closely, taking note of every movement, every shift of weight, and every cautious step. When it was his turn, he moved slowly, deliberately, testing each step before fully committing his weight. The ground was slippery from recent rain, and he had to adjust constantly to maintain balance. Nayeli remained close, offering guidance and reassurance, but never doing the work for him. Eli realized that this was not just about physical skill, it was about focus, patience, and trust. Halfway down the canyon, a sudden noise startled him. A small rock dislodged from the canyon wall and tumbled down, narrowly missing his foot. He froze, heart pounding, unsure if he should continue. Nayeli placed a hand lightly on his shoulder. "Breathe," she said. "Fear is natural, but it cannot control you. Observe, adjust, and continue. You are capable." Taking her advice to heart, Eli focused on each step, keeping his mind clear and calm. Slowly but steadily, he made his way down the steep incline, feeling a growing sense of confidence with each careful movement. By the time they reached the bottom, he was exhausted but exhilarated. He had faced his fear, trusted his training, and relied on Nayeli's guidance, and he had succeeded. The bottom of the canyon opened into a hidden valley, lush with greenery and sparkling with a small creek that wound its way through the landscape. Eli could hardly believe his eyes. The valley seemed untouched, a secret oasis hidden from the rest of the plains. Birds chirped in the trees and small animals moved quietly through the undergrowth. Nayeli smiled. "This is why we respect the land," she said. "It rewards those who are patient, careful, and observant." As they explored the valley, Nayeli pointed out edible plants, natural shelters, and signs of wildlife. Eli practiced the tracking techniques she had taught him, following the subtle clues left by animals to learn more about their habits. He realized that this was not just a lesson in survival, it was a lesson in observation, awareness, and harmony with the world around him. While gathering water from the creek, Eli noticed something unusual. A large fallen tree had created a natural bridge over the creek, but it was unstable and partially rotted. Nayeli cautioned him. "That bridge is not safe," she said. "We must find another way." Eli looked around and spotted a series of rocks that could serve as stepping stones. He carefully tested each one, ensuring it would hold his weight before stepping. Nayeli followed, offering advice when necessary but allowing him to make his own decisions. The crossing was slow and careful, requiring patience and concentration, but Eli felt a surge of pride when he reached the other side safely. He realized that this was another way the land was teaching him, through challenges that required thought, courage, and perseverance. As they continued their exploration, the sun climbed higher in the sky, casting bright light on the valley. Eli noticed a small cave at the far end, partially hidden by bushes. Nayeli suggested they investigate, explaining that caves often provided shelter and were used by animals and people alike. They approached cautiously, observing the entrance for signs of recent activity. Eli remembered Nayeli's lessons about respecting wildlife and being aware of natural dangers. Inside the cave, they found a small, dry space that could serve as a temporary shelter. Nayeli showed Eli how to create a simple fire using stones and dry wood without disturbing the natural environment. Eli tried his hand at it, carefully following her instructions, and after several attempts, a small flame flickered to life. The sense of accomplishment was immense. He realized that every skill he learned, every challenge he overcame, was building not just his survival abilities, but also his confidence and resilience. As evening approached, they sat outside the cave, watching the sun set behind the canyon walls. The sky was painted in shades of orange, pink, and purple, and the valley below glowed in the fading light. Eli felt a profound sense of peace and gratitude. The day had tested him physically and mentally, but it had also given him a deep appreciation for the land, for Nayeli's guidance, and for his own growth. They shared a simple meal of dried meat, corn, and fresh water from the creek. Naeli spoke of the importance of patience, observation, and respect, explaining how her people had survived and thrived in these lands for generations. Eli listened, inspired by her wisdom and the quiet strength she carried. He realized that the journey was about more than adventure. It was about understanding, learning, and growing as a person. As night fell, the valley grew calm and quiet. Stars twinkled above, reflected in the small creek that wound through the landscape. Eli lay back, gazing at the sky, thinking about the day's challenges and accomplishments. He felt a deep connection to the land, to Naeli, and to the lessons that were slowly shaping him into someone more aware, patient, and capable. Naeli sat nearby, her eyes reflecting the firelight in the starlit sky. She spoke softly, sharing stories of her ancestors, their courage, and their wisdom. Eli listened, captivated by the tales, and felt a growing sense of respect and admiration for the culture she represented. He understood that this journey was not just about survival or adventure. It was about learning to see the world through different eyes, to respect life in all its forms, and to grow as a human being. By the time Eli drifted to sleep, he felt ready for whatever challenges awaited them in the coming days. He knew the journey was far from over, but he also knew that with Naeli's guidance, he could face any obstacle with courage, patience, and understanding. The land was vast and full of lessons, and he was determined to learn as much as he could, step by step, day by day. And so, under the wide, starlit sky, the lowly cowboy and the giant Apache woman rested once again. They were stronger, wiser, and more connected than ever, prepared for the next stage of their journey, a journey filled with adventure, discovery, and the quiet unfolding of a remarkable story of growth, trust, and friendship. The following morning, Eli woke to the soft light of dawn breaking over the hidden valley. The mist clung lightly to the trees and the grass, and the air was filled with the sounds of birds greeting the day. He felt a mixture of anticipation and reflection, knowing that their journey had reached its final stage. The lessons he had learned, the challenges he had overcome, and the friendship he had formed with Naeli had transformed him in ways he had never imagined when he first wandered into the plains weeks ago. Naeli was already awake, moving with her usual calm and careful efficiency. She had prepared a simple breakfast and organized their belongings. When Eli approached, she greeted him with a gentle smile. "Are you ready for the final part of your journey?" she asked. Eli nodded, feeling a quiet strength within himself. "I am ready," he replied. He realized that readiness was no longer just about physical ability. It was about understanding, patience, and respect for the land and the life within it. He had grown stronger in mind, body, and spirit, and he felt a deep sense of gratitude for Naeli's guidance. They set out together, leaving the hidden valley behind and moving toward the plains beyond. The terrain was varied, rolling hills, narrow paths, and patches of dense grass. Eli noticed how much more aware he was of his surroundings now. He observed the subtle signs of animals, the patterns in the clouds, and the textures of the land beneath his feet. Every step felt intentional, deliberate, and respectful, guided by the lessons Naeli had taught him. As they traveled, they encountered a small herd of deer grazing in a meadow. Naeli paused and whispered, "Observe quietly. Learn from their movements and their alertness." Eli crouched behind a small bush and watched, noticing how the deer communicated through subtle gestures and sounds. He realized that the lessons he had learned were not just about survival. They were about observation, empathy, and understanding the world around him. Continuing onward, they reached a river that cut through the plains. The water was clear and fast-flowing, and the crossing would require careful navigation. Eli felt a twinge of nervousness, remembering the challenges of the canyon descent. Naeli smiled reassuringly. "Trust what you have learned," she said. Move carefully, observe each step, and support one another. They began crossing, testing each rock and each step. Eli felt his muscles working, his mind alert and his heart steady. Naeli moved alongside him, offering advice when necessary but allowing him to make his own decisions. Step by step, they reached the other side safely. Eli felt a surge of accomplishment. He realized that he had grown far beyond the timid, uncertain traveler he had once been. He was stronger, more confident, and deeply aware of the world around him. As they continued their journey, Naeli shared stories of her people's history, emphasizing the importance of courage, respect, and community. Eli listened intently, feeling a growing appreciation for the culture and traditions she represented. He began to understand that their journey together had been as much about personal growth as it had been about exploring the land. Each challenge, each lesson, and each shared moment had shaped him into someone more capable, thoughtful, and empathetic. By midday, they reached a plateau overlooking a vast expanse of plains stretching to the horizon. The sun shone brightly, casting long shadows and illuminating the beauty of the land. Eli felt a sense of awe and gratitude. He had seen, learned, and experienced more than he could have imagined at the start of his journey. He also recognized the quiet strength and wisdom of Naeli, who had guided him with patience, skill, and unwavering calm. They paused to rest and reflect. Eli spoke softly. "I never imagined I would learn so much from this journey, or from you, Naeli. I feel like a different person now." Naeli nodded, her eyes thoughtful. "The land teaches those who are willing to listen. You have faced challenges, learned patience, and respected the world around you. You have grown, and that growth is a treasure more valuable than any reward." Eli smiled, feeling a deep sense of satisfaction. He realized that the true value of their journey was not in reaching a particular destination, but in the lessons learned, the experiences shared, and the bond formed between them. He felt grateful for the guidance, wisdom, and companionship Naeli had provided, and he knew that the lessons would stay with him for the rest of his life. As they began their descent from the plateau, they encountered a small, abandoned cabin tucked into the hills. It appeared to have been unused for many years, but Naeli suggested they explore it briefly. Inside, Eli found old tools, a simple hearth, and remnants of someone who had once lived in harmony with the land. Naeli explained that such places were reminders of the people who had come before, and of the lessons they had left behind. "Every place has a story," she said, "and every person can learn from it if they are willing to observe and reflect." Eli took her words to heart. He examined the cabin carefully, noticing the way the tools were arranged, the marks of care in the structure, and the quiet evidence of a life lived in respect for the land. He realized that life was full of small lessons, and that awareness, patience, and observation were the keys to understanding them. As evening approached, they made camp near a gentle hill overlooking the plains. The sky was painted with vibrant shades of orange, pink, and purple. Eli felt a profound sense of peace as he watched the sun dip below the horizon. The journey had tested him, shaped him, and inspired him, and he knew that the experiences he had shared with Naeli would remain with him forever. They shared a simple meal, talking quietly about the highlights of their journey. Naeli asked Eli what he had learned, and he reflected aloud on the lessons of patience, observation, respect, and courage. Naeli listened, smiling with quiet satisfaction. "You have grown not only in skill but in wisdom," she said. "Remember these lessons and they will guide you wherever you go." As night fell, the stars emerged in the vast sky, reflected in Eli's wide, thoughtful eyes. He felt a sense of connection to the land, to Naeli, and to the experiences that had shaped him. He realized that the journey had not only been about exploring the wilderness, but also about discovering himself, his strengths, his patience, and his ability to grow through challenge and reflection. Before they went asleep, Naeli spoke softly, sharing a final story of her people, one about courage, unity, and respect for the land. Eli listened intently, feeling a deep sense of inspiration. He understood that the journey was complete not because the land had changed, but because he had changed. He had learned to observe, to respect, to act thoughtfully, and to trust both himself and others. Lying under the stars, Eli reflected on the path that had brought him here. From the timid, uncertain cowboy who had wandered into the plains to the confident, aware traveler he had become, every step had been meaningful. Every challenge, every lesson, and every shared moment with Naeli had shaped him into someone stronger, wiser, and more connected to the world around him. When dawn arrived, they packed their belongings one final time. Eli felt a quiet gratitude as he looked at Naeli. "Thank you," he said sincerely, "for teaching me, guiding me, and sharing this journey with me. I will never forget it." Naeli smiled warmly. "The land teaches, but it is the learner who carries the lessons forward. You are ready now, Eli. Go with respect, courage, and awareness, and you will find your place in the world." As they parted ways, Eli looked back at the plains one last time. He felt a sense of fulfillment, knowing that he had grown not just in skill but in understanding, respect, and wisdom. The journey had changed him, and he carried the lessons, memories, and friendship of Naeli with him always. He mounted his horse and began the ride back toward the towns and settlements he had once known. The plains stretched endlessly before him, but he felt a new connection to the land and to life itself. Every rustle of grass, every distant bird call, and every shifting cloud reminded him of the lessons he had learned. Eli understood that life, much like the plains, was vast, unpredictable, and full of challenges. But he also knew that with patience, observation, courage, and respect, he could navigate any obstacle. And more importantly, he carried with him the memory of a remarkable journey, a journey that had transformed him, forged a lasting bond, and opened his eyes to the beauty, strength, and wisdom of the world around him. And so, the lowly cowboy continued his path, forever changed by the giant Apache woman who had guided him, taught him, and shared with him the lessons of the land. Their story was one of adventure, growth, trust, and friendship, a story that would remain in his heart for the rest of his life, a testament to the power of learning, respect, and connection in a world filled with endless wonder.